Hey guys, welcome to this live session where today, earlier on Friday, I actually started a course, a beginner course for microbit, where it talks about how you can build different projects with microbit board, right, by BBC microbit. And then also I talk about some of the basic features of the board, and also, that the course itself is a live online course. So I like to encourage more interaction from you guys. And of course, with this live session, this is actually part of the intermediate course, the one that you're watching right now. So what's the difference between the beginners as well as the intermediate course? Now, in the beginners course, there's no programming required. Everything that the viewers are seeing are based on the make code interface. So they'll be using the blocks, which you might already be familiar with if you have some prior experience with using the BBC microbit. And then, of course, in this course, we're going to do something a little bit more interesting, right? We're going to rehash, yes, some of the hobby exercises that you're already familiar with in using blocks, right? In make code interface on Microsoft. And then we're going to do it in MicroPython. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about why I choose MicroPython as the approach as well, but I'll talk about that later. All right, so before we do that, what I want to do is, I just want to make sure that you guys have what you need. So one of the very first things that you're going to need for this course, as well as for the beginners course, is that you will need two kits. All right, one is the starter kit by uh, Electrics. Another one is the uh, Inventor's kit by Kitronik. All right, so I'm just going to grab them and I'm going to be right back in a in a jiffy. Okay, so yeah, here they are. All right, so I'm just going to move my things a little. Okay, so I'm just going to change my view and go. Okay, so what you have here, what you see is actually so what you see here is actually the Electrics starter kit. All right, this is the electronic starter kit. Yeah, the model is EF08180. So this is the kit that I would recommend that you get to follow along with this whole entire online STEM course. All right, and then the next one that you need to get is the Inventor's kit. All right, by Kitronik. Um, yeah, I'm not going to go into the basic details of how I got into this kit. You can watch the video, the first session video for blocks with microbit, and I actually talk about that. All right, so in this course, you just need to know that these two kits are the ones that we will be using. Now, why these two kits is because a lot of the components that you find in either of these kits, they actually, there are some components that are not included, right? So it's a good range. Having both provides a very good range of electronic components that we can use during the lab series itself. All right. So make sure to get the kit, all right, and then during the course itself, yeah. So basically, what I want to do is I'm also going to try and talk to each of the brands. I'm going to see if I can try and get a discount code for you guys. Right. So the good thing about watching this live sessions is that the discount codes will only be announced during the live session. But of course, it's a way to get you guys to watch my sessions as well. But of course, when you watch my sessions, you get to get a discount, right, off your purchase. So why not? So it's a win-win. So yeah, I hope that you guys will actually support this lab series as well as the online STEM course that I'm creating, that I'm working on. All right. Okay. So because the most basic thing, the kits that I have do not include the PVC microbit. All right. So let me move my. I need to adjust my tripod. Okay. So yeah, you need the microbit board. If you are watching this video, if you are watching this series, you're following this series, then clearly you already, have this board, right? You have a USB cable, and you have a computer, you're watching this on, you can follow along the lab series, the sessions, right? So these are all the basic things, right? So I have spoken to Kitronik, and good news is that they are actually willing to sponsor um, more components and kits to me. And then eventually, during the course itself, we're going to use a lot of these different components that are available, and we're going to do a lot of different projects together. Another thing that you should know is that, um, what is that? I sort of lost my train of thought. Uh, yeah, anyway, when I remember what I want to say, I'll come back to it. All right, so yeah, you will need your BBC microbit box. Now, if you have built other projects along the way, and you have used your microbit somewhere else, I would recommend that you just get another one for this course so you can follow along. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about online lab series, and then I'll also talk about the user interface, the IDE that you are going to use during the course to program the microbit, right? So, okay, so this is actually the online lab series website. This is where I host all the videos and contents, blog articles after they have been uh, posted live, and I want to sort of rehash certain important points. So I'll share the articles um, all on this website, right? So if you look at this article that I posted 3 days ago, I gave an overview about both the online beginners and intermediate microbit courses, right? So I also talked about the kits and where to get them. I provided URLs, the website address, and then of course Kitronik as well. So you can click on the links and you can get it from there. If you want to wait for the discount code from me, that's fine as well. Um, so yeah, I talk about starting with the basics, like using the make code interface that some of you might already be familiar with. And then the code with microbit here is the part where we use MicroPython. So why do I recommend using MicroPython as the next step, right, in your learning experience with uh, microbit? Right? I'm actually a industry practitioner and leader in the field of software engineering, and I picked up a lot of different programming languages over the years. So in a way, I would say that I'm very well versed with all the different programming languages that are available. And based on what you can use to uh, program microbit itself, I find that the MicroPython is actually sort of like the next step after covering the basics of the product. And if you want to go one step further after MicroPython, that is where you can work on the JavaScript coding, right? That's available through LeetCode. All right, so you might wonder why not JavaScript, right? So this is also a good time for me to share with potential educators. If you're thinking of setting up a online STEM course, you're trying to think about the curriculum and how you want to structure the progress, the learning curve, right? This is actually a very good tip for you because yeah, I actually talk from practice, so I guess you can really quote me and you can take my observations and my knowledge and my experiences as a guideline for you as well when you're planning the STEM curriculum for your students. All right, so basically the JavaScript coding syntax. Syntax is kind of like grammar, right? The grammar of the programming language. It's actually, I would say, more complicated, for someone who's relatively new to either microbit or programming itself, the idea of programming. So, it will always be highly recommended that you start with MicroPython because MicroPython, the coding is cleaner. It's much easier to explain, right, as an educator. And of course, when you're teaching students in a classroom, you are going to expect questions and they're going to be curious, they're going to ask questions. And the thing is this, a lot of STEM educators that I met over the years, they actually have no programming experience. Many of them, prior to the course itself, they just picked up programming themselves. And for them, some of the concepts they end up explaining wrongly, and that is quite bad, quite confusing for the students. So I honestly don't recommend going with JavaScript first. I recommend going with MicroPython. Once you're familiar with the concepts and once you're comfortable with explaining what the programming code is trying to do, you find that it's much easier to explain it when you go into JavaScript, right? So yeah, basically that's it. Okay, so let's talk about the editor, the IDE, the integrated development environment, right? What this integrated development environment is basically a software that you can install onto your system, and you can actually use it to build um, programs that can be compiled and executed onto the microbit itself. Right, so some of the terms that I'm using in this video, like compilation, execution, building, these are terms that I would assume that you are already familiar with because you've been working with the basics of microbit before, or you actually have some programming experience before watching this video. So there are going to be some technical terms that I'll be using during this course. And of course, I will try to explain what they mean if I remember to explain. But in any case, if you are watching and there are certain things that you do not understand, right? If there are certain concepts that you're not familiar with, there's always the chat, the group chat. So make sure you leave your questions there. If I'm in the middle of something or I have to walk away to take something, and you have a question and you want to get an answer, I'm sure there are other people that are watching that might be able to help answer those questions as well. So one thing I want to encourage you is to always ask questions. Don't be afraid that your questions might sound silly, or it might sound dumb. There's no dumb questions here, right? If there's anything I've learned, all right, as a industry practitioner, I'm still asking a lot of questions all the time. I still go to Google. I still Google a lot, to ask for help on certain topics and certain subjects and certain problems that I need to solve. So it's very normal. So don't be afraid to ask your questions. All right. And of course, I will try my best to answer all of your questions. And of course, during the session itself, sometimes there can be a lot of live viewers. And eventually, if I sort of miss your questions, please pardon me, please be patient. I will try my best to answer everybody's questions as much as possible, as much as I can. All right, so I want to talk about this code with MU, all right, short form MU, all right. I don't know why they call it that. I try to read about them and sort of find out what was the inspiration for it, but I couldn't figure out why it's called MU. But yeah, I call it MU editor. But if any one of you actually knows the rationale behind why it's called the MU editor on MU, do let me know. I would love to, be enlightened about why the name is being called that way. All right, so basically, this editor I think is really useful. Why? Because not only does this editor allow you to work with microbit, you can also code with other tools and other platforms like, if I'm not wrong, I believe there is a Raspberry Pi environment that is um, the uh, Express Circuit Playground by Adafruit, right? So you can do with all of that. I think it also is compatible with some of the Python uh, compatible development bots, right? If you are doing IoT, if you're interested to do IoT and learn something more advanced, that is something that you can consider, right? So regarding the Python compatible development bots, I can't confirm, but later when we launch the editor itself, yeah, we can verify whether that is true. Right, so what you want to do is you want to download the editor. So it's available. Oh yes, so it supports Raspbian. So yeah, you can use it on your Raspberry Pi projects. Right, so there is the Mac version, Windows installer. So you can download either one of these versions depending on your workstation, your PC, or your laptop. Some of you are probably running a Windows laptop or Windows PC, so you can install using the most systems these days are 64-bit. But if you also happen to have a system that's still running a 32-bit system, then use the 32-bit. All right, but I would suggest using 64-bit. And then also for the Mac OS, there's only one option, so that's straightforward. And just download it and follow the installation steps. All right. Okay, so once you have done that, we will launch the MU editor. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, so you should be able to see the MU editor that I have open. Okay, so what you can see here is actually a very basic. This is an example that I've been working on, with microbit, and then recently I was doing an example from one of the ebooks. So you can see that um, I have a sample code here, right? Now I won't go into this. This is a little bit complex, but I'm not going to go into coding today, FYI. Today, what I want to do is I just want to show you in the face. I want to help you sort of get around and understand what's going on and what each of these functions and features are for, right? And then next week, we will actually start to build some programs together, all right, some basic programs. We start from the very basic, like displaying a text and button interactions, and then we will move from there, all right? So earlier when we talked about the mode, right? So here you have the Adafruit Circuit Python. Um, there's a PY Game 0, right? So there are a couple of things that you can do. So also another thing is that with this editor, you can actually build full-fledged Python programs. This is too big a scope for me to even talk about in this online STEM course. But in the near future, I actually have plans to create a dedicated MicroPython learning course, programming course. And I'm actually talking to brands, the MicroPython brand itself, and I'm also talking to PyCon, right? They are actually a company that created this set of MicroPython compatible development bots, IoT bots. So my hope is to be able to build a partnership with them and then eventually bring those products into that programming, that dedicated programming course. All right, so after this online STEM course, if you're really interested to learn more advanced Python programming, right, real hardcore Python programming, or MicroPython, dedicated MicroPython course, yeah, do look out for that course that I'm talking about right now. So I'm just having an idea of this. I haven't actually really started planning it yet. So, okay, so let's get around the interface. The very first thing you'll notice is we'll talk about the toolbar here. All right. The first thing you'll see is new. New is basically to create a new file. All right. Load is to basically open a file. All right. Save would actually be saving your project. Flash is to flash your program onto the microbit. So you should be familiar with terms like that. If not, don't worry. Right? Flash is basically similar to uh, downloading, or sometimes we use the word uploading interchangeably. So either of that, but it means the same thing. Right? Files will actually show you the files on your microbit, right? As well as on your computer. Another thing that you'll notice is this REPL. All right, so um, for lack of a better word, I think the most simple way to describe this is that it is a terminal interface. It's a place where you can gather feedback from your microbit board. So, for example, if you want your microbit to report the accelerators sort of like the position, your x coordinate, your y coordinate, your z coordinate. So you can actually print them out, and then you can display under this IPL interface, this terminal. Plotter is basically to display like the data. All right, I want to talk about a lot of this very interesting, really cool features that are available with the MU editor, as well as how you can look at data being displayed across time in real time. Right, so real time meaning that while your microbit is running the program, you actually see the data being plotted as a graph right on this chart. So that is something very interesting, and you're going to see that during the course. Right, and then of course, you can the basic stuff like zoom in, right? So in this case, you'll be able to see my coding a lot more clearly, right, by zooming in. You can zoom out as well. There's team. Team basically switches between a dark interface, right, and this is like a high contrast, I believe. Then the light interface. Personally, as a preference, I always like the dark interface, right? The darker interface. As a programmer, because I wear specs, right? I wear spectacles. Sometimes for me, reading and looking at the computer screen all day can be quite bad for the eyes. And daytime, I usually would look at a white editor, white theme, all right? Because it's much easier to read during the day. It's brighter, it's clearer. But at night, I kind of like to switch to a darker interface because when you work for long hours on a project, your eyes can get very tired. Right? So it's good to switch to a darker interface because it's less straining on the eyes actually. This is just a helpful developer tip that I can share with you guys. Right, so check is to basically check your code, right? And it will say that, nice one, 0 problems detected. So if there are any errors, will be reported on the status bar here at the bottom. Right, and then you have the settings, right, where you can set certain settings for your Python code. One very good tip is that if you are building a project, a prototype, right, you want to write a very complex program, which you can, and maybe there's a lot of lines of programming code required. Right, so what you want to do is you want to save memory space. Right, when you upload your program or you compile your program, you flash your program to the microbit. Before you do that, it's good to select the option to minify the Python code before flashing. What does minify means? All right, this minifying means that you are actually removing all of the spaces from the Python code, so that in other words, it actually becomes one entire line, one string of line of text, right? And there's no space, no mixed line and kind of stuff. Basically, that is to actually remove all the extra bytes that might actually be loaded onto the microbit microcontroller. All right, so when you do a minify, it helps to reduce the size of your program. At the same time, it also, in terms of the hardware and running a program itself, the less memory you use, the less space, the less it's how would I say, the loading of the program will be a lot faster. It's kind of like if you need to open a really big file on your system, on your PC, between opening a very big file and a very small file, which one takes a faster time, a shorter time? The smaller file, right? So the logic is somewhat similar in this case. So sometimes it's actually good to minify the project. But you don't have to. I mean, honestly, I think even in the most complex projects I've seen so far, the microbit handles it pretty well. So sometimes we can choose not to. I mean, it's entirely up to you. But I think if I'm building something that requires a real-time monitoring and something that I would like to monitor in real time, I want it to respond quickly and responsively. I will probably choose to minify my program before I flash it onto the microbit itself. All right, so now that I'm done with this interface, I'm just going to switch the camera back to myself. Okay, so basically you have seen a basic introduction of this course, all right, what this code with microbit is all about. You have seen the editor that we'll be using, you know about the kits that we will be using. So please make sure to go and get the kits if you'd like to follow along with this live lab series. And then of course, download the editor onto your laptop, your PC, install it, and then run it for the first time, just have a feel of what it's like. Don't worry about programming right now. We will get into the programming next week, next Sunday. All right, so same time next week, I'll talk to you guys again, and we'll start doing some basic MicroPython programming together. All right, until then, bye.